Just moments ago, the entire basketball world got hit with a reality check so loud it echoed far beyond the WNBA. What was supposed to be a historic All-Star weekend, filled with superstar matchups and electric energy, turned into a PR disaster that fans are calling a complete embarrassment to the sport. Angel Reese, once hailed as the face of the league's next era, just pulled a move so off-key, it's being roasted across the internet as one of the worst-timed marketing stunts in recent memory. While Caitlin Clark, the undisputed MVP candidate, was sidelined with a painful injury, Reese rolled into Clark City like it was her own, dropped a flashy Reebok billboard campaign, and tried to claim the spotlight in an empty arena. But fans weren't buying it. Ticket prices nosedived nearly 50%, sponsor hype evaporated, and Reese's so-called takeover landed with a thud so loud, even her own supporters are now questioning her motives. This wasn't a rivalry, it was a one-woman act, chasing echoes in a room that had already gone quiet. And now, fans everywhere are asking the same brutal question. Has Angel Reese officially overplayed her hand? This wasn't just a case of bad timing, it was a full-blown collapse in front of the entire sports world. Angel Reese thought she was stepping into the spotlight, but what she actually stepped into was a media firestorm she wasn't ready for. The moment Caitlin Clark was ruled out of the All-Star Game with a groin injury, the entire weekend lost its spark. Fans had been planning for months, booking hotels, buying merch, marking their calendars to witness Clark take center stage in her own city. And then, boom. One injury report later, and the energy flatlined. Ticket prices didn't just drop, they free fell from $121 to $64 overnight. That's a 48% crash. Not because the game was canceled, not because the weather changed, but because one player wasn't playing. That's not just star power. That's a generational shift in fan attention. And while the league scrambled to save face, Angel Reese saw an opening. But instead of stepping up her game or leading on the court, she chose billboards. She chose promo. She dropped a Reebok campaign titled, "Walk in Your Trap, Take Over Your Trap," right in Indianapolis, right in Clark's backyard. But Clark wasn't even there. And that's when fans collectively said, wait, what is this? Because it didn't feel bold, it didn't feel empowering, it felt off, it felt hollow, like showing up for a showdown when your opponent is home nursing an injury. And as the weekend unfolded, it became painfully clear this wasn't a takeover. This was a missed shot on an empty court. While every other WNBA All-Star was locked in, focused on their performance, ready to give fans something unforgettable on the court, Angel Reese was busy staging a personal promo tour. Not a skills showcase, not a statement game, just a flashy campaign rollout like she was headlining a festival. And that might have worked somewhere else, maybe in Chicago, maybe in Baton Rouge, but not in Indianapolis, and definitely not during a weekend that was built around Caitlin Clark. Reese showed up like she was the main attraction, but forgot the crowd wasn't there for her. She dropped Instagram captions, strutted past cameras, unveiled giant Reebok visuals with bold taglines like, "I'm in your city," but the irony was brutal, because the city wasn't hers, it was Clark's, and Clark wasn't even on the court to defend it. The whole stunt backfired hard. Instead of feeling like confidence, it came off as tone-deaf and opportunistic. Fans weren't impressed, they were confused. What was supposed to be a rivalry moment quickly turned into a one-sided promo campaign that no one asked for. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark stayed silent, never threw shade, never played into the drama. And that silence, it spoke volumes. Because while Reese was out there shouting into a mic, Clark was still the name on every billboard, the face behind every sponsor check, the reason fans had bought tickets in the first place. Without her, Reese was swinging at shadows, and fans could see right through it. And then came the harshest reality check of all. The crowd didn't show up. Reese's big Reebok pop-up event, barely 15 people trickled in. The billboards were up, the cameras were ready, but the energy was gone. The fans had already spoken with their wallets, with their silence, and with the empty seats echoing throughout the arena. Because without Caitlin Clark, there was no rivalry, no fireworks, no narrative. Reese's solo act fell flat because it was never about just showing up, it was about showing up against someone. And the someone who makes all the difference wasn't even in uniform. The media, the sponsors, even ESPN had built this weekend around one matchup, Clark versus Reese. Nike had custom gear lined up. ESPN had full segments ready. Social media was primed for the showdown. But when Clark was ruled out, everything lost steam. And while businesses scrambled to recover losses and ticket holders started listing their seats on resale sites, Angel Reese doubled down. Like nothing had changed. She kept posting, kept promoting, kept repeating that "I'm in your city" slogan like it still meant something. But fans weren't buying it, because there's no city to take over when the queen isn't home. And there's no rivalry when one side refuses to engage. What we saw wasn't an all-star flex, it was a marketing misfire. A campaign chasing relevance in a moment where fans just wanted real basketball, not rehearsed taglines and empty bravado. And that's when the numbers started screaming louder than any promo could. This wasn't just a dip in ticket sales, it was a collapse. TickPick and other resale platforms confirmed it. Tickets dropped from $121 to $64 within hours of Clark's injury. That's not hype, that's hard market data. It happened earlier this season too. When Clark missed road games, resale prices tanked 47% in Washington, 71% in Chicago. That's not a fluke, that's Clarkonomics. She's not just a player, she's the pulse of the league. And no amount of billboards, podcasts, or clever taglines could replace that. While Angel Reese was making headlines, Caitlin Clark was making history. Every time she steps on the floor, ratings spike, arenas sell out, and cities light up. When she doesn't, the whole atmosphere deflates like a balloon with a slow leak. And what did Reese do with that knowledge? Instead of adjusting, she leaned harder into the narrative. More posts, more merch, more noise. All while the internet dragged her for clout chasing a rivalry that Clark never even acknowledged. Fans weren't fooled. They saw who was hooping and who was hyping. They saw who filled arenas and who filled Instagram captions. And by the time the All-Star weekend ended, the contrast couldn't have been more clear. Caitlin Clark had the fans, the sponsors, the momentum. Reese had a mic, a billboard, and a city that never claimed her. By the time Sunday hit, the energy wasn't just low, it was gone. Downtown Indianapolis looked like it was bracing for a parade that never arrived. Bars canceled viewing parties. Restaurants reported empty tables. Even arena vendors were stuck with unsold merch and unsipped drinks. All because one name was missing from the lineup, Caitlin Clark. And while all of that was unfolding, Angel Reese kept acting like nothing had changed. Her Reebok billboard still up, her captions still loud. Her slogan, "Walk in your trap, take over your trap," still blasted across every post like the trap wasn't already empty. But here's what Reese never seemed to realize. This wasn't about who had the flashiest campaign. It was about who actually moved the league. And Caitlin Clark moves everything: fans, money, ratings, momentum. Without her, the entire All-Star experience felt like a dress rehearsal missing its lead. And to make matters worse, Reese wasn't just doing damage control, she was doubling down. 3 podcast episodes deep, and Clark's name has already been mentioned more than some teammates. She's been turned into an unofficial co-host, not by choice, but by obsession. It's not rivalry, it's noise. It's not branding, it's shadowboxing. And the fans? They've had enough. They see the desperation, the reach, the awkwardness. Because when Clark plays, everything explodes. When she's gone, it all collapses. And no amount of swagger can cover that up. This was supposed to be Angel Reese's moment. Instead, it turned into a masterclass in how not to steal a spotlight. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Because while Angel Reese was parading through press rounds and flexing her new sneaker deal, the rest of the league was dealing with real fallout. Sponsors were pulling back. Media coverage shrunk. Social media turned cold. Why? Because all of it was built on one assumption that Caitlin Clark would be the centerpiece. ESPN didn't set up cameras for a solo act. Nike didn't prep special edition drops for an empty showdown. The WNBA didn't pump all that money into a weekend built around noise. They bet on Clark. They banked on Clark. And when she couldn't play, it wasn't just the vibes that dropped, it was the value. Meanwhile, players walked out in warm-ups wearing "Pay us what you owe us" shirts, demanding better treatment, better pay, better conditions. And while the message was powerful, the timing was brutal. Because fans were watching ticket prices crash, watching vendors take losses, watching an empty arena, and asking one question: Who exactly is putting butts in seats? Who's keeping the lights on? It wasn't about talent, it was about economics. And when Caitlin Clark sat down, so did the money. The protest shirts, they felt mistimed. The atmosphere, awkward. Instead of a rallying cry, it came off like a reminder that without Clark, this league still has a long way to go. And that's the uncomfortable truth nobody wanted to say out loud until now. So now that the smoke has cleared and the weekend is in the rear view, here's what we're left with. Caitlin Clark isn't just another star in the WNBA. She is the WNBA right now. Her presence fills arenas. Her absence clears them out. That's not hype. That's not media spin. That's raw economic truth. Angel Reese can have all the brand deals, all the billboards, all the noise, but without Clark on the court, none of it sticks. You can't take over a city that never belonged to you, and you can't force a rivalry when the other person never stepped in the ring. This All-Star Weekend was supposed to be the league's breakout moment, a celebration of talent, growth, and competition. Instead, it exposed everything from who really drives the league to who's just riding shotgun. And Reese? She tried to hijack a moment that was never hers to begin with. That's not strategy. That's desperation. And now, fans see it, the brands see it, even the league sees it. Because when Caitlin Clark is playing, the lights are on, the seats are full, and the world is watching. When she's gone, the noise fades, the prices drop, and the trap is empty. So if the WNBA wants to grow, it's time to stop pretending this is about personality wars and start respecting the player who's actually carrying the game forward. Like it or not, that player is Caitlin Clark. And this weekend, it proved it better than any stat sheet ever could.